We are? Okay, all right.
I can share with them.
Okay, it is 7 p.m. This is the council meeting for Alburnett City Council for Thursday, February 13, 2020 at 7 p.m. Thank you all for attending. We have quite a few folks here this evening, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Here in the city of Alburnett, you know what, let me suspend that for a moment. We do have Deputy Schmidt, right?
Yep.
Here, so I'm going to go ahead and advance him to the top of the agenda so he can get back on the road. We'll go ahead and receive his report. Do you want a water or anything? No, I'm good, thank you.
Really didn't brand.
Yep.
Deputy Schmidt here, it looks like we had 100.3 hours of the 43 required. This was starting on January 9th to today, and we responded to 34 calls for service.
Okay, so there's a report as submitted. Do you have any questions for the deputy? Now would be the time to ask them. As always, I do want to thank you for your time in Alburnett and for our school resource officer, of course. Any questions for the deputy sheriff? No, Deputy Schmidt, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Okay, here in the city of Alburnett, we do conduct the Pledge of Allegiance before we conduct business. I'll go ahead and add, you don't have to if you don't want to, but we do conduct it here. I'll go ahead and lead us. We'd stand and face the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag. We had a flag, just a moment.
There's one behind you.
Yeah, we'll go to it if it doesn't come back up. It doesn't, you can stay standing, but I'll do it from here. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, would you go ahead and establish a roll call for show that we have a majority?
Counselor Menson?
Present.
Counselor Sarrazin? Here. Counselor Shams?
Present.
Counselor Chong?
Here.
Counselor Rosenberg?
Here.
Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum to conduct business this evening. I'll go ahead and ask for approval of the, do we have any edits? I don't think we do use them earlier. Okay. We'll go ahead and ask for approval of the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Moved by Saracen.
Second.
Second by Menson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The sheriff's report is being conducted. All right, we do have several public hearings this evening. We'll go ahead and conduct the one that we have. Again, I do want to thank everyone for attending tonight, including several guests. So we have a public hearing this evening for FY21 City of Alburnett Maximum Property Levy. This is the time and place for a public hearing for the FY21 City of Alburnett Maximum Property Tax Levy. Before we go to any comments from the public, did we receive any written comments?
We did not.
Okay, no written comments. Again, this is the time and place for any comments from the public on the FY21 City of Alburnett Maximum Property Tax Levy. Hearing no comments from the public, I'll ask the council if they have any comments.
Quick question, did you need a motion to open the public hearing?
No.
Okay.
Any comments?
Nope.
All right. Let the record reflect that we did hold a public hearing for the FY21 City of Alburnett Maximum Property Tax Levy, and there were no public comments or no written comments. All right, item number 7, we'll move on to the next public hearing for an ordinance for amending Chapter 28 Building Code. Again, you have the information in your packet for that as well. We'll have the public hearing at this is the time and place for the public hearing. Did we receive any written comments on this as well?
No.
Again, any comments we'll hear from any citizens or any public comments on this as well. This is the time and place. No public comments. Any comments from council? Okay, we'll go ahead and close it out. Let the record reflect that we did hold a public hearing for ordinance amending Chapter 28 for the building code. There were no comments from the public and no written comments. All right. I could have run a motion, but it didn't matter. You could all voted no. We had to hold a public hearing. So, number 8, the mayor's report. I do want to go ahead and make a note that we have our an update just on the fire station. We do have, I believe it's February 20th is gonna be the pre-bid. And we do have our bid openings, I believe it's March 5th, is that also correct? Yeah, okay. So that process is moving nicely for the building of our fire station. The only other comment I'd say, we do have second graders coming next week, so that's gonna be next Friday. That's their government section. Want to thank the school for allowing that, that's gone well, that's the second year we've done that. And then also, hopefully, I believe that groundhog did not see the shadow, is that correct?
That is correct.
So that means we get early spring. Now, today may not be a good reflection of that, but I'm gonna hold the groundhog to that, so we get done, we have our early spring, so. But those are my comments for this evening. We'll go ahead and move on to council reports. We'll start on the left. Councilman Menson.
I only have one thing, and it's actually for the fire department. I heard great things about the fire you responded to recently from a firefighter from a different town. He said you guys were Johnny on the spot, everybody knew what to do, and it seemed to go well. So it's good to hear those things. So good job.
Councilman Sarson.
The only thing I have is just to make you all aware that, for emergency management, they are putting together a subcommittee to discuss, sirens within the county and how they might handle those with Dwayne Arnold closing and what that plan looks like. Not a big impact to us because they already set off the sirens for Alburnett, but there are some other communities that still maintain their own, so, I'll keep you all posted with where that lands.
Very good, thank you.
Not at this time.
About a week ago, we had a meeting with the township about a 2080 agreement for the fire department. I think we made some good inroads as far as opening communication between the township and the city. Things are progressing, we're getting a little closer all the time.
Very good. Okay, no other comments from the council reports. We'll go on and move on to citizen comments. Here in the city of Alburnett, we have two types of citizen comments. The first type are for agenda items, so we'll do those at this time. If you have comments that you'd like, if you're on the agenda, of course you'll have time to speak later, but these are for agenda items that if you're present and you wish to speak to them. So if you wish to speak on an agenda item, this is the time and place to do so. Just state your name and address clearly for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address the council. Is there anyone who would like to speak to us this evening on an agenda item? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move to our second type, which is non-agenda items. So this is an item not on the agenda, but you wish to address the council. It's the same manner. If you wish to do so, please state your name and address clearly for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address the council. Non-agenda item. Very good. All right, then we'll move on to item number 11, which is written reports. We'll start off with the fire department. Council, you have a copy of the fire department's written report in there, and I'm sure you've had an opportunity to review it prior to this time. If you have that present, that's fine. We'll recognize our fire chief to add any additional comments at this time. Chief Graham.
We just had those two coats that were damaged when we got them, and I'm just waiting to hear back from what they're gonna do about them.
Okay. All the others received, you're in good order?
Yep.
All right, very good. Other comments? Any questions for the fire chief or any questions about the fire department report as submitted? Very good, then we'll move on to item number B, which is the public works report. Our public works director is not present tonight, he's out of town, so we'll turn that over to the clerk for any comments he may have left. All right, then the public works report that's in your packet, council, any comments you'd like to make or any questions based upon it?
I just had a quick question on the radios that you should be able to answer. Those are for the city's use during a disaster? Okay. Thank you.
All right, very good. Well, then we'll move on to the city clerk's report. Again, you've had it in your packet and your opportunity to review it. We'll go ahead and recognize the city clerk at this time for additional comments.
I started using that TownCloud app and I sent you all the agenda. So give me feedback. It was a little bit interesting trying to learn it and get things uploaded, so.
I don't think
We
I
were
got
talking about before the meeting that
I stumble around a time or two on that, but after I use it, it's fine.
Okay. Or a month-to-month contract, so if we decide we don't like it, we can just,
I didn't have an issue.
okay.
Any comments or questions for the clerk based upon her report or anything that was reported?
I didn't get that. No wonder I didn't get, I'm losing it, but no, it didn't even come in my email.
Oh, okay. Oops, sorry about that.
Did you not include me?
That's very possible.
Maybe it's,
Checking if you're paying attention.
apparently I wasn't.
Other questions for the city clerk? Okay, then we'll move on to the item number 12, which is approval of the consent agenda. Do we have any items to add to the consent agenda?
No.
With no items to add, you have the items that are listed there within your package. You've had an opportunity to review them. There are no items to add to it. Anything for finance? No. No additional financial considerations or comments. Hearing that, then unless there's questions, I'll seek a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz, second by Trum. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. Move on to item number 13. We'll recognize Fuller's, and she is here. She didn't bring me anything to eat, but that's all right. You usually bring me the tenderloin, that's fine. For a special event permit application, the council will recognize Nancy Fuller.
Last year we had the first annual car show in Alburnett. We're asking for permission to do our second annual car show in Alburnett. You'll notice it's not our flyer yet, but it has all the information on it that is going to be at the car show. Pretty much it's the same as it was last year. We're adding a few more prizes. And attached is also the map. And what we're asking for right now is the permission to block off the date for June 20th to have the car show, and the map with the yellow on it is blocked off where it was last year. We're asking for permission to block that off again this year. And in,
Sorry, I don't think the highlighted section, I didn't copy in colors, so they don't.
okay,
Colors.
well,
Sorry.
I'm just gonna show you real quick. If you guys remember last year where it was blocked off,
Oh, yeah, okay.
okay, so pretty much the same thing. We are, however, looking for it to be bigger than it was last year, and we'll attend another meeting to explain this further. I just wanted to give you a heads up as to where we can block off more street if needed. And did you get the little dots? Okay, you got the little dots where the street is, where the, driving around Main Street goes.
Detour.
Detour.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't think of the word.
Skating's fun.
So if it was in red, you'd see where it would be if we had to broaden it a little, if there were too many cars to see where we're at.
Well, let me say you're always thorough and you're always early in submitting all your permit information, which gives us plenty of time to review it and prepare for it if necessary, and we certainly appreciate that. Without Guy present, with no comments or anything, you know, it's hard to say what will be logistically this or that, but
Okay.
Councilman Trum is ahead of that portion of the council anyway. Do you see any issue early on with anything?
No. How is it handled, the barricade if the fire department needs to go out?
They will be parking in the school parking lot this year.
Okay?
Last year they parked at the bus barn, but we always make sure the fire department has a way to get out.
Okay.
You have plenty of time for approval, so I mean, you're well
Okay.
ahead of the curve, so, I mean.
I just want to make sure we have
I
this
think-
date.
I think we need to reserve, make sure the June 20th is reserved for this activity. I mean, that's the main,
It is. It
that's a
is.
big
We
thing.
don't want anything else coming to town on June 20th, and then here we are, we're gonna have a car show, and we're gonna have to have it on the other end of town or something.
Okay. Council, other questions for Nancy? All right, very good. I don't see any issue with it right now, and I don't think anyone else does, so.
Just make sure we get that reserved.
Okay.
So,
Have it in the minutes as reserved.
if we're gonna hear from you again, just make sure one council meeting prior to for final approval.
I'll probably do it two prior to, just in case.
There you go,
Because
perfect.
we already have our insurance and everything lined up, it's just too early to get a binder and all that good stuff.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nancy.
You bet.
Thanks.
All right, then we'll move on to item number 13B. This is the Alburnett Community School Bond Initiative Update Communication. We'll recognize Principal Hendrickson and former council member Hendrickson, so we're happy to have him back in here with us, so you can go ahead and make your presentation at this time.
Okay.
You're on short.
Awesome.
Harley on short.
You're good? You guys good? Would you like some?
You're sure this
Actually, I did want one, though.
You just
I
heard
was
this last week?
Thank you. Yeah. So you gonna present with us? And then do you want me up there?
I'll let these ladies introduce themselves and their roles as well, and then we can, what we like to do is we like to go through the why, the what, and the how, so people have a good idea of those three things, so.
I'm Alma Bartlett. I am just supportive of the bond issue and I graduated from Alburnett in '93, so started there in '83 and my kids go there and I just am passionate about it, so.
And I'm Harley McBurney, I'm the board secretary, business manager at Alburnett.
We usually start with the why, and what I can tell you from the why is that we are out of space. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that we have more students or less students than we did when Alma was here in 1993, because it's probably roughly the same. The difference is we don't have a building in Toddville to have kids at. The other difference is, the reason why we are out of space is because I feel like, or we feel like, that we have many more programs that we offer at Alburnett. And the reason we do that is we know that we are competing is probably the wrong word, but we are competing with schools all in this area, and we want to be the most attractive school in this area for students to come to. So we have a lot of programs that we feel like the bigger schools offer here at Alburnett for our students, so that when they go into the world of work in the corridor area, they're prepared for that. In doing so, we've run out of space. A couple of quick stories. I have 4 special ed teachers, and they share one classroom right now. That's probably as big as from where Danielle's sitting here. So imagine our most needy population in a room, 15 or so of them in a room, trying to get things done. Now, I have teachers teaching in closets. We have our at-risk coordinators in a closet. So we're just at a point where we're out of space. So that's really the why behind what we're doing. We need the room. We are, from 4 or 5 years ago, we are growing again. I had a first grade section this summer that I thought was going to be 3, and I actually had 0 place to put them if it went to 3. So even if we needed that 3rd section based on our numbers, we weren't going to be able to do it. And we were going to be in classrooms of 26 or 27, which, if you've ever been around 26 or 27 first graders, isn't the most ideal thing to do. So there's a lot of the reason why, but it's space, and it's the programming we want to offer and the kind of school we want to be for our students. So.
Okay. So, I came into the picture with the facilities group kind of later on, so I wasn't part of the initial decision making, but some of the they went back and listened to some of the comments after the first round, and tried to kind of rethink how they were going to get the job done, get what we needed. So they have, do you want to talk about what they, like where the classrooms, so instead of adding on to the building for classrooms, they looked at changing the small gym into multiple classrooms. This actually would be more cost effective and comes out with more classrooms. Also moves all of the, do you call it CIT?
CTE.
CTE.
Career Technical, Industrial Tech, Ag, Family Consumer Science, what most of us know as home ec, and then business courses.
Puts them all together in one wing here and right next to the greenhouse there, so that the ag classes have their greenhouse right there. And then the auditorium is still projected, the same thoughts with the new music rooms and auditorium, which I feel have so many more needs than just, it covers more things than just concerts and coffee house, and there's so many things that the community will benefit from. We'll be able to actually host some of those bigger events from the rest of the district that we haven't been able to do before. So we've actually come up with at least a list of 36 different things that auditorium can host. And then with losing that gym space, there was the thought that we can put a multi-purpose facility out at the complex, large enough to house
even up to 2 court practices and stuff like that, but it was already dubbed as like storage and locker
Yep.
rooms,
So we've had in the plans, since we've moved out to the complex for football and softball, that we needed some sort of building out there for storage and locker rooms, that type of thing. So as we were going back through this plan after the failed vote the first time, we looked at the little gym. Well, of course, if you know anything about this town, obviously you do, we're kind of the community center as well, so losing a gym isn't ideal. And so with the need for a building out there anyway, the thought is to have that be a space out there that can be used by our youth programs, and obviously our older programs as well. But if you've gone to a game at Alburnett on a Tuesday or Friday night and tried to find parking, you know it's darn near impossible. Half of those cars are probably youth people practicing. So it alleviates some of the parking issues that we'll have. It allows us to not have students running around the building that games are going on. So a lot of things that we'll be able to do. It allows for a safe, now it's not a tornado safe room or anything out there, but it would be a storm shelter type of thing if it's rain, lightning, those type of things that we desperately need out there. Locker rooms for our football teams and softball teams as well.
One other thing I just wanted to add was that if you do look at our map here, there's a lot of light purple shading, and those are all areas that will be touched and revamped. And I'll tell you, there are some places in here that look the same as they did when I came there in '83. So they're so sorely needed, and I think the impression that other schools get when they come to our school, it will just boost that.
And if you look, it says 14 new classrooms for pre-K-12, and as you look at this, as we move some spaces around to create other spaces, what we're basically doing is we're taking 12 current spaces and making them 26 through new construction, and then the splitting of upstairs. We have several very large rooms, and those will be split into classrooms upstairs, and so it really does increase our capacity to 14 more classrooms than we currently have. What that does is situates us nice for the future. However much we grow, we feel like with this plan, over the next 20 years, we can handle 75 students per class. We're not anywhere near that. We're in the mid-40s to around 60, and so, but you see the growth, you see the things happening towards this way. We feel like we can handle that type of growth, but keep our small school feel. If you think about 75, and that seems like a lot, Center Point, Urbana, which I wouldn't consider a large school by any stretch, is still about 150 kids per class. And so we would keep that small school feel, but be very well situated to have that where we're not having to come back and ask for more classrooms or portables in 10 years. This situates us for what could be expansion if that happens quickly. So that's part of the reason for 14 classrooms as well. Last thing kind of on the building stuff is on the very back is parking. If you ever tried to get to Alburnett School during the day, you know that you're probably going to park illegally because there's no parking spots. In fact, yesterday there was a young lady that got to school from Kirkwood, and she was parked, there's guest parking, and then there's another spot where people kind of fudge it a little bit, and then there's another spot, and that's where she was, and she blocked a bus. And we had her move, and it was fine. But the issue was she had no place to park, safely. And so this plan on the back will alleviate that. If you look at the upper corner here where there's a t-ball field back there, off of Moodhart, that will be 88 spaces. That will be all student parking. So as you come in the day, here, this parking lot will be staff and then visitors. So this should be very open through the day for folks that are coming to visit the school or people coming during the school day or even in the evening, because as I said earlier about events, 50 or so of these vehicles that are in the parking lot at any given event are probably students. And so that they're staying for the game or they're playing in the game, so they'll be back here. This will become, the main parking lot as it is now will become parent pickup and drop off only, so there'll be no bus traffic through this lane right here. Again, that's a big safety issue that has really, more than anything, we've probably gotten lucky more than anything. the back side is where parents come out and in the bus lane. So you'll have, today we had a bus that was late, so we had bus, car, bus. People get there at odd times and so not real safe for kids to be coming out and into that parking lot, and so we're gonna separate that traffic. There will be some traffic that goes on to Moonhart, so thanks to the council inadvertently widening that street several years ago, it will work out well. We anticipate our buses, for the most part, going out to the west and coming around, so they don't have to cross the railroad tracks twice. A couple buses will go out to the east because they pick up that way. We sent 5 buses to the Toddville area and 2 north, so the traffic that would be a majority of that street shouldn't be as much. There will be an increase in student traffic, there's no doubt about that, especially, you know, in that 7:45 to 8:30 and then 3:30 area. And, you know, we've addressed that with concerned citizens as well, and that kind of, we understand that, and folks along Roosevelt have dealt with that for many years as well, and so it's good that the streets widen, and we'll hopefully be out there to make sure the students aren't acting stupidly when they're going in and out of that parking lot. The bus traffic, the bus traffic will be one way, going north, and then that will be gated off during the day, so no students will be going south out of that parking lot because that is our playground, our main playground is right here. So to keep that area safe and so we don't have back and forth traffic, that will be gated off during school hours. So only bus traffic in the back, only parent pickup and drop off in the front. And that in the back is 88 new spots shown. We may expand that based on need as far as students, the number of students that actually drive. Important thing for our community as well, we will not be losing either softball or t-ball field. We'll be moving the t-ball field over and we'll keep the softball field where it is. Those get used from as soon as we can be outside here in March till the end of July almost. Those are very important to our community and those will stay. That's the what and the why. Any questions on that, or do you want to go into the how we're going to pay for it?
Do you guys have questions first?
Is it gonna be asphalt parking up there, or is it just gonna be rock?
Both.
Student.
Both.
Student.
Both right now. Honestly, probably depends on how far the money stretches there. There will be some concrete or asphalt, and then there will be some gravel, and then as we get further along, that would be more and more finished.
Any other questions?
What anticipated support, assistance, cooperation do you need from the city? I mean, you've mentioned, you know, Moonhart's been widened, that's better suited for the new traffic flows. But this is a big expansion, so is there anything else you could, I know it's extremely early, but.
Well, I would think that there'll be coordination with GUI for sure, in regards to some of the buildings, especially in the front where we're putting the auditorium. I mean, there could be some, probably some issues with that road right there, certain days of the week or certain times when we need to, when there's demolition happening or trucks coming in and out, but I think that would just be more coordination of what's happening, at those times. And when is that auditorium being built? When's that the main focus? When is the different parts that may impact, the citizens of the city a little bit, I would say, but other than that, I can't think of anything. I know we've talked about some sharing of services and things when that comes to, and hopefully, when this passes on March 3rd, if this passes on March 3rd, on March 4th, we'll be starting design development. Those conversations probably might be even more at that time.
Yeah, definitely keep us at the table.
For sure.
We're
Absolutely.
partners in this. Take an opportunity to look at, do we have a place where we can mark crosswalks and have flashing lights and make things just a little bit safer for people that are coming and going?
Absolutely.
One other question, anticipated timeline.
Sure. So again, passes March 3rd, let's say, and March 4th, we would basically start design development with winter bids to go out, is that
Yeah,
correct?
possibly winter bids or we're actually probably thinking spring, more likely.
So then construction would start 2021 summer, and then through the school year, and then the summer of 2022, and then hopefully be fully occupied at the fall of 2022.
And like Josh said, it's gonna be very phased because it's kind of like dominoes. We can't start one without finishing it.
Right.
I'd like to talk about the how if you don't have any other questions.
Limit your time, please, we have other speakers.
You got it. So, if you wanna follow along on page 3, I won't take up all your time, but, the general obligation bond is funded by property taxes, and there's a couple of charts on here that I think really explain it all. The top chart's gonna show our current and history of our levy rates. You can see right now we're at 13.41, and the projected rate with this bond passing is 15.28, and it does seem like a jump, but the thing I would point out here is that it is a lot lower than it has been in the past. At the bottom of the page, you can see that we would still be the third lowest in Lynn County amongst all other school districts after the bond. And then the little chart there goes into some detail about what that might look like as a financial impact on yourself. So a $100,000 home, it's going by assessed value, and it comes down to being a change of about $786 a month. So it is a change, but it's not a huge change. In the end, it's gonna feel like $1.87 because we currently do have a debt service levy, and it would expire we're paying it off 7 years early, which is amazing. A lot of interest saved. And then replacing it with the new one you'll feel $1.87 change per $1,000 of your assessed value. And then in the right hand side, it talks about the 2 ballot questions. So currently the district has the ability to levy $2.70. To get to the capacity that we need to get all the stuff that Josh and Alma have talked about, we actually have to go up to the next dollar figure, which is $4.05. We don't need $4.05 from every taxpayer to get our $11 million bond. We have to get up to that next threshold, and we're actually asking for $367. So on the ballot, it's gonna say $4.05, but we are asking for $367. But you do have to say yes to both questions, because the first question is gonna ask you, do you accept the actual bond, the project? The $11 million, the additions, the buildings, etc. That's the first question. The second question says, can we tax you up to $4.05? But please know that we're only asking for $367 to get to the $11 million.
And I think it's important, however you vote obviously is a personal choice, but if you vote yes, no, yes to the first question, sure, this is a great plan, we'd like you to do it. No, no to the 405, you're essentially voting no.
Right.
So,
They just go hand in hand, really.
and that's important because in the previous bond issue, question 1 was much closer to passing than question 2, so there was some confusion around that, so we just want people to understand that when they go vote in that process, if they're going to vote yes, then they need to vote yes to both questions.
Well, as we can't officially endorse anything for you, just like you wouldn't want us to officially denounce it, we'll keep that portion of it neutral, but I will say this. I know it's over 100. How many employees do you have?
It's over 100.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but I will say this. You're the largest employer in this city. So, and when we need additional space or community space, you guys provide it, usually free. I don't know of anyone you charge, maybe you do, but whatever. When we need it, we get it. So you're an excellent partner to the city, and we certainly appreciate that. So, other questions for Josh? Well, thank you. We certainly appreciate it. It'll be, all these are public, so it'll be on within a week or so or whatever. So if you need to say something else on that. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. All right. Having heard that, we'll move on to item 13C, the Lynn County Board of Supervisors. Brent Olson is here, the chair, correct?
No, I'm not the chair, I'm the vice chair.
Vice chair. Okay, is Ben the chair?
Ben Rogers.
Ben Rogers, chair. Oh, okay, all right. Well, close enough. You know, I can't remember everything. So anyway, Brent is here, and I believe you're giving us a presentation of information on budget.
Yeah, just gonna take a few minutes. I passed out our popular financial report for last year. Kind of shows, we send this to citizens, make it available to citizens. This gives you a rough idea of how we put property tax dollars to work. Last year kind of updates you from the other elected officials. Auditor Miller was here, but sheriff and the county attorney on some of their programs. I wanted to mainly convey that we have finished our budgets looking forward, and for the last 2 years, we've used the mental health surplus to spend down or lower the property tax levy, because we were required to not have as much in surplus. So we applied that to the property tax levy, and general county levy has been 585 for the last couple of years. A lot lower than it normally has been in years prior. It's been in the 620 range. So we will be going back up to that range, and we've added some debt service to that for a couple projects. One was, so it'll be about $6.40 this next year. Some of the main things that are in that debt service is the voters approved a number of years ago, 75 to 25% in favor of a $40 million bond proposal for county conservation for water quality measures, for parks and trails and some additional projects. And that's over the next, authorized over the next 20 years. About 12 million of that is coming online. At the end of next year, it'll be about 17 million. Lynn County Conservation has a list of all those projects on their website. You also have Lynn County Public Health and Child and Youth Services. They were kind of in a really old building, cramped space on the west side of Cedar Rapids. We've built a brand new building to house both of those programs over in the kind of near the Newville district in the Oakville Jackson area of Cedar Rapids, and that's $31.5 million. The reason why we think that's a good investment is that it takes care of that infrastructure need, and we have a AAA bond rating, some of the lowest interest rates we'll probably ever see, and that's quite a bit lower than trying to save up for that each year with construction inflation in this area at 7 or 8%, and I see that construction boom continuing. So I think in the long run we'll have saved taxpayers quite a bit of money. In the old public health building, then we will be creating that to have an access center. That access center is for people who are in mental health crisis, or I think we're going to be able to try to divert some people maybe with intoxication that would normally go to the jail. People that have some mental health crises that are going to the emergency rooms will be able to go to this. They'll be staffed by a lot of different nonprofits like ASAC, Foundation 2, Four Oaks. And so I think that'll be a net positive for the community as well. And so those are the three main things that would be reflected in that new debt service. A couple of things that I'm working on this year is an issue regarding the landfill. That is scheduled to close in 2044. But we have another 25 years of additional capacity in that landfill. But we're under a settlement agreement with the City of Marion. My idea is to propose to the City of Marion to have an additional $2.50 on the tipping fee. That would generate $500,000 a year for the next 50 years that they could have if they would agree to let us go beyond 2044. It's not expanding the landfill, it's expanding, in the land that we already have, the capacity that we already have, just authorizing it. So that's a big thing that's kind of close to here that probably has no chance, but I'm still it's something that I really feel as a board of directors that we have to put forward because it's in the best interest of the community and the best interest of the agency. I also serve on the MPO. We have two things that's the Metropolitan Planning Organization, deals with transportation dollars. Two things that will directly affect you and that Brad Kettles, our county engineer, can talk about in just a minute, is two roundabouts going in on County Home Road. One at that C Avenue intersection that's really problematic with a lot of especially in the summer with soccer, and then just at night with commute home, and then you have Alburnett Road County Home Road. And so those roundabouts, once completed, I think will be awesome for commuters. It's something I use it too, because I live right off the Lucor Road.
You have the projected date for those?
But, and the county engineer can talk about that in just a minute, but this summer, the road's gonna be
Correct, yeah.
closed.
Stay away from County Home Road this
So,
summer.
it's gonna affect Alburnett quite a bit. And then I continue to work on trails and parks. We have a lot of trail and park initiatives, especially with that bond issue. So that takes a lot of my time. And then, something that might be of interest, I know is more of an interest to Central City, but, next week I'm kind of unveiling an ATV ordinance. It'll allow ATV use in the county. It will restrict some roads, obviously like County Home Road and some others, and we still have to kind of flesh out and hear from the public about whether we should restrict paved roads or certain paved roads, or only allow on, certain gravel roads. But I've had quite a bit of interest in, wanting to be able to use ATVs, drive them into town, so that might affect, you guys in having to have an ordinance if you don't want them in your town, driving up to full orders or something like that from here. But, so if you have any public comment, just please feel free to give me a call or come to the public hearings. This isn't going to happen right away. We've been working on it for a year. But it will take sufficient amount of time for the public to get its input, because where it's been introduced in some other urban counties, it's met mixed, it had really strong proponents and very strong opponents, so. And then, county engineers here, and usually we get a lot of road questions, and if you have any particular road questions, or you know your constituents that have any that affect the community, Brad could talk a little bit about that.
All right.
Sure.
And then if you have any questions for me after he's done, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Yeah.
I'm Brad Kettles, the Lynn County Engineer, and, I just wanted to come and introduce myself. I've corresponded with Guy back and forth through emails, so I was hoping he would be here tonight, but he must be
He didn't give up his vacation for
Yeah,
me.
well, man, I should've told him I was gonna be here. He might change his mind. But, as Supervisor Olson said, County Home Road, that's gonna be a huge project this year. We're basically paving from just east of North Center Point Road, almost all the way to our main shop. It's gonna be a concrete overlay. Every road going south off of County Home Road is gonna have turn lanes. So going into Robbins, Marion, and so basically everything going south is gonna have turn lanes also. And as he mentioned, the two roundabouts, Alburnett Road, C Avenue, that project is scheduled to be let next Tuesday. So next Tuesday we'll know who the contractor is and cost for the project. So it has I think has a pretty early start date on that. So I think pretty much when the weather breaks, that project is going to start. So it will
I'm sure those Tuma folks are gonna appreciate that this summer.
Yes.
That tent out there. The only thing I would say about that, and I'm sure you've thought it through, is, a lot of people work in Cedar Rapids, so don't do construction in Lafayette then on out Roosevelt.
Right,
Anything
correct.
beyond Roosevelt.
Right.
Because you literally make them go all the way there,
Yes.
or all the way through.
And the two roundabouts, they can't do those both at the same time. So either one or the other is going to be open at all times, so. Trying to think what else. A guy emailed me earlier this week regarding the bridge inspection, services. So the consultant that we've had doing it since 2012 is no longer doing that, so we will soon be going out with an RFP for that, to get a new consultant. And I told him earlier this week that we would let him know and offer those same services that we have in the past. I am qualified to do bridge inspections, but hopefully the prices don't come in too high, so I won't be out there climbing around bridges, but I can if I have to. So, that's all I have. Unless you have any questions for me?
I think so. Joel, do you want to say anything?
No,
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right, then council, any other questions for Brad?
I just would like to make them big enough, these roundabouts.
Yes.
You don't wanna have trucks going through the middle and
Right.
all that, so
Correct.
just make sure you make them big enough.
Yeah, they are big. I wish I would've brought some, some designs, but I think everybody's minds goes to the one in Marion, like at 29th and 35th, all down. That's kind of where I live, right by there, and it's tiny, but it's effective for the traffic that handles, but, yeah, it's almost 2 times the size of that, so.
We've had a lot of
They're
farmers ask how big it's going to be, and I think it's the same size as, or close to the same size as the Mount Vernon. Is it close to the
Yeah,
same?
it's close to, yeah.
And
Mount
all the
Vernon.
trucks that have went around that one have been, I've heard that it's been good, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's definitely designed for, the largest,
But
semi-trailer.
if you have any ideas on, you know, because citizens are gonna complain right away once the thing starts, because no matter how hard we try to get out, you're gonna take alternative routes. You're gonna have 2 projects at the same time on a stretch of County Home Road.
Right.
And so, I don't know what other roads are going to draw all the traffic to get back to, you know, the main thing is either Highway 13 or the interstate is where the bulk of why people are trying to use County Home Road.
Right.
And so they're gonna be alternative roads, and, you know, we'll try to deal with that, especially in the summer when, you know, if you're using some of the rock roads, we may have to put chloride down or whatever.
Right.
If there's a road that's gonna be used a lot, and alternative to that, but anything that you hear, give us a call right away so we can try to adjust, and get word out to use this specific route, or this route's not effective, or that we need to do something to a particular route.
And we do have on our website, it's called Notify Me. If you get on there and you can sign up for, once the project starts, basically daily updates on the project. The project won't move that quickly, but it'll show at least the phasing of the project and projected start dates and end dates and things like that, so.
Will you be closing the intersections down completely to traffic?
Yes, yeah,
They will be.
yep. So, yeah, when C and Alburnett are under, because they're gonna have to completely reconstruct, so we have torn out and start from scratch, so.
But I'll still go get through on my motorcycle, right?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Will you guys,
We'll give you a special
I gotta
pass.
get to work.
Right.
will you guys notify us of the detour planned detours?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yep, we will do
just in
that.
case we get questions.
And I want to try to overdo that, because that's what happened on Mount Vernon Road when we had some closures and, things, you know, it's such a heavily trafficked road that, and everybody was pleased as peaches when it was done, it's awesome now, but, when it was closed, you know, I think it was 19,000 people or whatever were using, it's difficult, so we know how busy County Home Road is, so my goal is to try to over-communicate ahead of time, you know, how much of a hassle it's gonna be, and it's gonna be for me too, because I use County Home Road all the time. So I know that it's gonna be not popular at first.
Is there a way to also communicate to, like, County North? There are a lot of people come from Delaware County, right down 13, right across County Home Road.
Yeah.
And some of those people cut through Alburnett
I
from
know,
time to time.
I'm not gonna make a lot of friends this summer.
Alright.
But is there a way to communicate that through like, the
There's-
Manchester area, for example?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have social media sources and our communications team and director have been in contact with us.
It's a good suggestion. We may want to go proactively to the Gazette or something and do
Yeah.
a heads up article on this
Right.
or something to really try to get it out.
We've been kind of waiting until the letting next week, so at least we'll have a little more information on the project and some late start date information, but yeah, next week we'll kind of start the rollout of that, so. that'll be soon.
Because there are 2
More
roundabouts, so
information.
the paper should want to write about that just because of that, you know, let alone closing County Home Road.
And I'd like to comment on that, just given, I know more of them are coming around and maybe more people are exposed, but that wasn't in my driver's education. Is there opportunity to
Right.
put out the roundabout etiquette or how to use them? I
Right.
think there's just a lot of misconception and that's what causes the
Right.
angst and the anger and
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah,
know my mom purposely avoids any, you know,
Right. No,
she
I
won't
get
go
it.
through Mount Vernon anymore, so.
right. And these, yeah, and that'll be part of our rollout, but these roundabouts will just be single lane, so they'll be pretty self. Whereas the ones in Marion, you gotta be in a certain lane to go through, and if you're in the left, I still get confused going through Marion. I live in Marion. I have to remember which
Just
one's
follow
in-
the signs.
which
The
one-
signs are
I
all
know, but
self-explanatory.
I get stuck in a lane, and yeah. But these are just single lanes for now, so it's, I mean, once you get in it, either you can go this way or that way.
I
but-
still think you have opportunity, especially with Tuma. They don't respect the four-way stop as it is, so I just
Right,
think
right.
it,
Oh, for sure.
it could be
Yeah.
ill-received if
Yeah.
not communicated.
Once they're in though, the big difference is like 8 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon won't be like it is, you know, where I got 20 cars, I'm behind and trying to get to the interstate, so.
Right.
Are you gonna put up any signs at a time?
As far as, so shortly here we'll put up, we just had these general, road to be closed for construction signs, and it has our website on it and our phone number, so it'll direct people to our website, and people can sign up for that Notify Me service, and just we'll have some general information about the project, so, yeah.
Brett, I have a non-road question
Yes.
for you. You talked a lot about what you guys have going on right now. Do you have a strategic plan with long-term goals and things like that, where you're headed?
We do have a county strategic plan. It's getting close. It's like in year 4. So next year would be time to redo it. But we also just finished at Lynn County Conservation. Has a 10-year strategic plan that they just unveiled for their parks, and some of the departments have their own that tie back into our overall strategic plan. I think it's on our website too, because we just redid our entire website, and access to it's really a lot easier to access now, but yeah, we do, and it's pretty comprehensive. Or is there anything in particular that?
No, I'd just like to review. I was involved in the strategic planning for EMA. And
Okay,
I know
yeah.
they were looking for your support and the priorities that they put forth, and so I was just
Yeah,
wondering how that aligned
they
with
came
what-
and I just was out at Dwayne Arnold touring that for some possibilities moving forward for different organizations, EMA included, because I know long-term EMA needs different space.
I'll go look for that, thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, we appreciate it. Okay, having that covered then, we'll move on to number 13D. This is a resolution 02-2020-1. This is approval for the FY21 maximum property tax dollars for the, you have it in your packet here, it's the first one that we have. This is the approval of the 21 maximum property tax dollars. Sorry, we do need a supermajority on this. Let the record reflect that we do have that. We'll go ahead, you've had an opportunity to review it. We'll go ahead and move forward with this. Before we go, any questions on this? Because I believe this is something new, right?
This is new, yes, and it has to do with what was, we had the public hearing for earlier, that new legislation where we have to publish the maximum property tax levy.
We can't go over that.
Correct.
Okay. So we do have the full council present, so we meet the requirements. Is there any questions on this before we call for approval? All right, then I would, we'll have to do this by roll call, so we'd seek the approval for resolution 02-2020-01. Would somebody
So
move by Saracen? Second by Trum. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Saracen?
Aye.
Counselor Sean?
Aye.
Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Counselor Rosenberg?
Yeah,
Let the record reflect that it passed with supermajority. All right, we'll move on to item number E, a resolution 02-2020-3, resolution providing the levy of taxes to pay general obligation bonds urban renewal. This is also in your packet. This is, I think, for the levy for the debt services that we have. This is the 900K, right? Correct? All right. And then this is effective FY20?
It's
21.
21.
21, FY21, okay. All right, so you have this in your packet as well. You've had an opportunity to go ahead and review this. Unless there's any questions, we'll move forward with this. We'll also need this by roll call, so I'd seek a motion for approval for resolution 02-2020-03. Moved by Trum, second by Shantz. Any more discussion on this before moving forward? Hearing none, then I'd seek the clerk to call the roll, please.
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Saracen? Counselor Sean?
Aye.
Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Counselor Rosenberg?
aye.
Let the record reflect it passed unanimous. We'll move on to item number F. This is the motion to set a date for a public hearing for the City of Alburnett FY21 budget. It's also in here as well. This is for March 12, 2020. I believe that's going to be the date for our next council meeting in March. So, we'll go ahead, open the public hearing at this time. Have we received any?
No, we're setting the public.
Or, sorry, not setting, we're setting the public hearing for next month. We'll need a resolution to set motion by Shantz,
Second.
second by Saracen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion carries. I'm moving too fast here, trying to get caught up. We'll move to item number G, motion to set a public hearing for FY20 budget amendments. This item is also in your packet here. Caught up here.
It's on the same page. Back one more.
It's just the motion.
There we go. This is also set for the March 12, 2020, which will be our next month's hearing. Any comments or discussion on this? Okay, then seek a motion to do so.
So moved.
Moved by Bozenberg,
Second.
second by Minson. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. Thank you. And we'll move on to the last one, a motion to set a date for a public hearing for the plan specifications, estimated construction for the form contracts for the Alburnett Fire Station. Again, this is for March 12th, 2020, our next council meeting.
So moved.
Any comments? Motion by Saracen,
Second.
second by Trum. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion carries also. Thank you. All right. Move on to Resolution 02-220-2, a resolution to enter into a 20-year agreement with Lynn County for the building permits and building inspection services. There's also a letter of Robbins in here as well, which closes out our agreement with them, I believe. But this is what we held the public meeting earlier for. So, get back on track here. That's also in your packet. So, for this, I'll need a motion for the approval of Resolution 02-220-2. And we've had more than enough, I think, discussion on this. This is one we've talked about before. It's been on previous agendas and things like that as well. So.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
On the letter to Robbins, it's my understanding that any open projects they'll continue with, so will this be sent upon completion of those? Or do we need to reword it slightly?
That would be a good idea, I will reword it. Thank you for catching up.
Okay, so that 2080 copy is in there as well. You've had that prior to the copy of the letter of Robbins. It's in there as well, and your resolution is present there. So, any other comments before we call for that? Then I would seek that resolution, a motion for 02-220-02.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz,
Second.
second by Saracen. We'll leave this by roll as well.
Counselor Benson?
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson?
Aye.
Counselor Sean?
Aye.
Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Counselor Bozenberg?
Aye.
Let the record reflect it passed unanimously. All right, item J. This is the ordinance for ordinance 2020-1. This is the ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Alburnett for chapter 28, the building codes. So, if you flip to your ordinance 2020-1, you'll see that this now, chapter 28 building code, this will adopt the county for, and you can read your copies there if you want to, if you haven't looked at this previously, for taking over doing our ordinances for the building codes. Before we move forward with this, is there any comments or anything with this?
I see fence permit crossed off, and I was a little confused by that. We still hold that, correct? So is that elsewhere?
Yes, it's referenced in our zoning ordinance.
I knew that one was difficult to find.
Yeah, Scotty and I met with Luke and Andy from the county, and we went through our current building code, tried to figure out if there's anything that we needed to keep, and it seemed like everything else was either referenced elsewhere or was referenced in their code. So there were a couple items that were gonna, like the swimming pool, was in there, and we talked about just creating a flyer of best practices on how to handle draining swimming pools, and then there was storm drainage stuff that we talked about. And that was in a couple of our other, code sections. And then the fence permit is in the zoning, so we'll continue to require a fence permit for anything over 3 feet, and then the county will just do theirs if it's over 7 feet.
If I may, the swimming pool drainage, it doesn't, the code doesn't specifically say it, but it states that it, in a vague way, it's up to the local authority, so that would be a city. We just defer to you guys on your specific requirements, so if somebody asked us, we would just refer them back to you guys.
Any other comments or anything before we move forward for the readings? If you so desire to move to the first reading or the additional, waiving the additional readings, but otherwise we'll move forward calling for a first reading here. No other comments? And we can move forward this evening with a first reading of ordinance 2020-1, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Alburnett 2012 by amending chapter 28, the building code. This will cause chapter 28 building code to be replaced with a new language which will be directly reference Lynn County's building code following approval of the 28E with Lynn County for building permit and building inspection services, as Lynn County Building Code will then be the code enforced in the city of Alburnett. I'll need a motion to move forward with this.
So moved.
The motion to introduce and approve the first reading of ordinance 2020 and ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Alburnett, Iowa 2012 by amending chapter 8 building code. That motion by Menson. Second by Saracen. I'll need that. If there's no other discussion, we'll move forward with a roll call vote.
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson?
Aye.
Counselor Sean? Counselor Crum?
Aye.
Counselor Rosenberg?
Aye.
Let the record reflect it passed unanimously. Council, you have the option to continue later with second and third and final readings, or you can waive those if you wish to do so. What's the pleasure of the council?
I think we ought to waive them.
Okay.
Give people a chance to.
Okay, and then doing so, we'll need a motion to suspend the rule requiring an ordinance to be voted on for passage of 2 council meetings prior to the meeting in which it would be passed with respect to ordinance 2020-1. A motion.
So moved.
Second.
That motion is moved by Saracen and seconded by Bozenberg for the motion to suspend the rule requiring the ordinance to be voted on for additional passages. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, again, I'll need a roll call vote.
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Sarahson?
Aye.
Sean? Crum?
Aye.
Rosenberg?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that the second reading to suspend the requirement passed unanimously. We can then move forward with the third and final reading. We'll need a motion to approve the final passage and adoption with respect to ordinance 2020-1. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
That's moved by Menson
Second.
and it's seconded by Trum. Any other discussion? Again, this will be the third and final reading. Hearing none, I'll need a roll call vote again to complete it.
Menson?
Aye.
Saracen?
Aye.
Sean? Crum?
Aye.
Rosenberg?
Let the record reflect it passed unanimously. That completes the change for ordinance 2020-1. Thank you. I know that's a process, but it is complete now, so.
Can I get a building permit now?
Would you make the proper changes and notifications on that? Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to item K, the Iowa Codification Contract, review and discuss for contracts for services. This is also in your packet. This is the desire is to put this into place now so they can go ahead and start the work. For those of you that have been on council for some time, you know this is a lengthy process as well as a tedious one. The contract would go ahead and start at this time so they can do the work. However, we would not have any payments until FY21. The costs, I'm sure you reviewed this before now, but the cost for these changes for the purpose of the public is on page 2 there. It's $4,500, as well as it could incur additional costs depending on if we made changes and things like that, but the base fees are placed there on page 2. So, again, this would start the process for the codification process to our current codes. Any questions or comments on this with this particular contract?
Not about the contract, but I do have a question. Last time we codified this, we used another service. How was this service being decided on this time around?
I asked a number of other clerks, looked on ClerkNet, and a lot of people use this Iowa codification. We had used EZI cog last time. I don't know that there's a difference in services. I did see a couple of errors in our current code where there was a city name that didn't get replaced. It's not our city's name, but I'm sure that happens with any company you go to. But I just heard good things about Iowa codification, and once we utilize them for services and we get our code recodified, then when we do new ordinances, we can send that to them and they'll just update our code as it's
So we don't get 5 years behind.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is there a fee every time you do that, or?
there is a fee.
When you update it?
Yeah,
Right, what's
yeah.
that? What is it?
I think it's maybe less than $100, I wanna say,
Says
but,
$25 per page.
okay, thank you.
Says here.
What's the, oh, I'm sorry.
I think this is less than what we paid last time, because if I remember right, Dave, was it around $10,000?
I was thinking, yeah, it was expensive.
Now, I don't, are they gonna send somebody out here when we do our, go through this for,
I talked through the process and we work with a code editor. I don't think they come on site. I think most of it's done via electronic means.
I kicked the fan, sorry.
But, and they do know, we had talked about this during budget time, and we did budget for this in FY '21, that I let them know that we wouldn't be able to pay anything on the contract until after July, and so that's why, they put that in there, that we wouldn't make a payment till after FY '21, starts. But they wanted to go ahead and get our code now and start working on it, because they have the availability and resources to do so.
so then they're gonna go through and bring it up to date, and it's our job then is just to agree to it, right?
Well, we'll have to review it and go through the whole
No,
thing,
I
like,
mean, you
yeah,
know,
yes.
but I mean, they're gonna update it, and then we more or less review it. Is that what,
Yes, that's the way I understand it, yeah, I have talked to them and,
that's a big job.
I would think that we would be easier this time. We just adopted all the county codes for building and inspections and things like that. We would have less of our own city code. I would think it would be less of a issue for them, but I don't know.
There's a lot of major shifts.
There was a lot of majors, but I don't think we had codified anything for a lot of years.
Well, it's been a few,
It was
No, but
been a few, yeah, okay.
prior, it was way out.
It's been a few years now, though.
they also have to go through each place in our code where it references the Iowa code and make sure all of those are up to date and that they're referencing the right place.
But they're
and
gonna
everything.
go ahead and do all that.
Yes, yes, that's their job, that's what they, part of the contracted services.
What's the pleasure of the council? You wanna move forward with this, or do you wanna look at something else, or what's your desire here?
I just want to move ahead with this. I move to sign this contract with the Iowa codification.
There's a motion by Trum to go ahead to move forward with this and sign the contract.
I'll second it.
There's a second by Sean. Other discussion on this? Hearing none, and since it's a contract, would you call it by roll?
Sure. Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Sayerson? Counselor Sean? Counselor Chong?
Aye.
Counselor Bozenberg?
Aye.
All right, let the record reflect it passed. We can go ahead and process this as well. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, that completes new business. We'll go ahead and move on to old business. The only item is A. This is ordinance 2020-2, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances for the city of Alburnett on chapter 46, animals. This is something that we've, I think this is our 4th or 5th month going through this. I believe we had questions last month that have been corrected in here now, and this should be the final version of this to move forward. So, again, this is a modification of an existing ordinance, so we'll have readings as well if you wish to move forward with this tonight. I'm sure they'll study this one too as part of the codification process, so who knows, maybe it'll change again, but at least I think we've got it in a form tonight where we wanna do it. As you recall, our old animal, ordinance was, outdated and was causing some conflicts with, some of the, existing owners within town, so this is the update to that. So, again, we've talked about it for several months, so.
I appreciate all the hard work, and I make a motion that we move forward with the updated ordinance.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to go ahead and move forward with this then. So we'll go ahead and, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then we're gonna move forward with this. We do have to do readings then, because it's a modification of an ordinance. So we'll do that at this time. This is ordinance 2020-2. We'll need a motion to introduce and this will cause chapter 46, animals, to be replaced with a new code language previously reviewed and discussed, and replace the obsolete language in current code related to the breed specification regulations in the city of Alburnett. I'll need a motion to introduce and approve the first reading of ordinance 2020-2, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances in the city of Alburnett, Iowa, 2020 by amending chapter 46, and I believe that Councilman Bozenberg just made that motion.
Second.
And then we have a second by Councilperson Saracen. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll need a roll call vote, please. Clerk?
Henson.
Aye.
Saracen.
Aye.
Shantz. Trump.
Aye.
Rosenberg.
Aye.
Okay, so the first reading has been completed. Again, at the pleasure of the council, you can waive the second and third and final readings, or we can go ahead and do those in additional months. What's the pleasure, please?
Quick comment, did we have a public hearing on this? We did, I believe.
We did not. We don't have to have a public hearing for every ordinance amendment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would make a motion that we waive the second and third readings.
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, that motion carries fine. Then we'll need a motion to suspend the rule requiring that the ordinance be voted on for the passage of 2 council meetings prior to the meeting in which it is to be passed with respect to ordinance 2020-2. The motion there by,
So moved.
moved by Menson,
Second.
second by Trum. Any other discussion to suspend for the second reading? All right, I will also need that by roll, please.
Henson.
Aye.
Aye.
Saracen. Shantz.
Aye.
Trump.
Aye.
Rosenberg.
Aye.
All right. Let the record reflect it passed unanimously. And, again, I'm sorry, I know it takes a moment to get all these done. Then this is the third and final reading. This is again for ordinance 2020. I will need a motion to approve the final passage and adoption with respect to ordinance 2020-2.
So moved.
That's moved by Saracen, second by Menson. Any other discussion? Again, clerk, would you call the roll?
Counselor Menson.
Aye.
Counselor Saracen.
Aye.
Counselor Shantz. Counselor Trump.
Aye.
Counselor Rosenberg.
Let the record reflect that it passed unanimously. Thank you. There, that completes ordinance 2020-2. We've got our new animal code. Again, I know it's lengthy, but it's necessary. All right. We are finally down to to number 15, which is our motion to adjourn, unless anyone else has anything for the good of the cause. Any more comments from the public? No. Then I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Menson,
Second.
second by Bozenberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. The motion carries. Thank you for a lengthy but necessary council meeting.
Yeah, right?
Okay.